Today's video, we're actually in Northern Ontario. I wanted to get up here because if you are living in Toronto right now, there's absolutely zero snow. And I wanted to get to the snow to not only photograph it, but also just get a little bit of a change of pace. It's the new year. The city's absolutely gross right now. And there's something about Muskoka that just is unbelievable to adventure in and see. So I thought, what better way to kick off the new year than to make a video about creating incredible social media content? Because I'm sure at the start of every year, everybody's looking for little wins and tips and tricks that they can put into their own content to make it that much better. And I've been on social media now for about 4 years. And if you've been following along with my content, you'll have seen tons of changes along the way that have not only led me to get viral videos, but to also help create content that really speaks to my own audience that I'm trying to relate to, and also make content for my clients to attract the audiences that they're wanting. And there are so many things that I could say about what makes great content, but I've narrowed today's video down to about 4 tips to ensure that you can take them away and level up what it is that you're up to. My first tip in today's video is going to be about how to grab someone's attention. And the way that you're going to keep someone's attention for longer is by turning your content into being more story-based. Everything you post on social media needs to have some sort of narrative or story attached to it, because at the end of the day, that's what relates to somebody and keeps them coming back over and over again. And it all starts with your hook. The hook introduces your content to your viewers. If you're making an Instagram reel, this will be the first 3 seconds of the video that then captures someone's attention. But then to keep someone engaged, you need to build curiosity or some sort of intrigue, either by creating a storyline with an incident or providing enough information to keep someone following along for longer. If you're posting a photo carousel, for example, this could be a sequence of events unfolding a new storyline or location that you're exploring that is interesting enough that people swipe through that photo carousel to see what the location actually looks like. The goal of your content should be to create tension, curiosity, or interest. And you want this curiosity to peak at some point. And when all of this is over, that's when your story's actually ended. And then the hope with this is that someone's consumed all the way to the end of your content, finds it valuable, and then follows you for more later. And so your job as a social media content creator is to find those captivating moments or create them in your content and then share them with others. And that's how you're then gonna increase your engagement over time. And so to carry on the rest of today's video, we're actually gonna keep driving around Muskoka in the snow, find more cool photo locations, because I've actually never photographed Muskoka in the snow. It's always been something on my bucket list, and today is gonna be the day. So I'm excited to take you along the way. We're gonna keep providing tips as we go. And yeah, I hope you like the next spot we get to. Okay, so we are at our next location, and this is Arrowhead Provincial Park up in Muskoka. There is one photo that we are gonna take behind me to illustrate our next concept, which is that once you know how to actually tell effective stories and keep people engaged in your content, you now need to learn how to display those stories in a visually engaging way. And the best way to do that is to learn photographic compositions. There are tons of different compositions that you can actually use, but I wanna walk you through a few of my favorites today because not only are they the easiest to actually execute, but they're also incredibly great for grabbing attention quickly. So the first one we're gonna do is called center framing. Best way to make your content more engaging for Instagram is by placing your subject directly in the center of it. So using the location behind me, here's what happens when you don't center frame. Our subject's off to the side, the photo's not really that engaging. And here's an example when you do center frame. We wanna make sure that the subject, which in this case is the inlet of this composition, is directly in the center to not only quickly capture our viewers' attention, but also allows for our subject to be placed in a more visually engaging way for vertical content. All right, so with that, we're gonna head on over to a couple different photo spots to grab some different examples of compositions and hopefully show you along the way, because the next one is my personal favorite, which is leading lines. All right, so we're at our next location, which is around Lake Rosso, and just behind me is a photo that I wanted to take, which is with leading lines, this beautiful rock face, and I wanna walk you through what leading lines actually are and how you can use them yourself in your own photos. If you wanna increase the engagement with your photos and videos, you can use something called leading lines to be able to do so. This is where you use a line or some sort of natural element in your frame to guide a viewer's eye towards a center focus. Often, this is gonna be a subject. Most of the time, I like to find a painted line on the road and have that be my tool to create a more engaging image. And my next compositional element that I'd like you to take advantage of are detail shots. The best trick to increase your engagement in your photos and videos is by including something called detail shots. Detail shots are those unique elements that are in your landscapes or environments that your viewers might not notice if they weren't there with you. For example, we're in this beautiful snow-covered landscape right now, and some of the details that stick out to me is the snow sitting on pine trees, maybe some leftover leaves from fall that haven't come down from the trees yet, or maybe some other elements that just allow for the story of what I'm capturing to really come through and feel a lot more visceral. All right, so that's gonna wrap up the compositional elements. There's one more piece to this that'll allow us to take all of this information and put it together, and we're gonna drive on through Muskoka a little bit more to be able to do that. All right, so we are at our next location, and this is Gravenhurst. We have a really cool lookout behind me that we're gonna grab some photos of after this. But we first need to talk about the final part of this video, which is taking how to build your story together with the compositional tips to display your story, and then putting that into becoming an engaging piece of content. And for this example, I wanna take some of the photos that we captured today and show you how to make an engaging photo carousel for Instagram, because that's probably the simplest thing that you can make. Whole thing with YouTube videos or YouTube Shorts or TikToks or whatever can all be separate videos. But for now, we'll talk about photo carousels, given that they're just approachable for any type of content creator. When you're taking your photos, you wanna capture a hero photo. This is gonna be the first photo in your entire photo set and is likely gonna be the one that grabs someone's attention to continue to swipe through it quickly. Second, we wanna make sure that our viewers continue to resonate with our content as they're swiping through the carousel. And my favorite way to do that is to integrate detail shots. Think about using some of the other storytelling photos that you might have captured, and then those detail shots will help convey the mood of those photos to just make it feel like it's coming more alive to the person that's actually viewing it. And third is developing that strong story structure. Think about how it is that you're building curiosity in your photo carousel set to get people to swipe through all the way to the end. The more photos that you can get someone to swipe through, the higher the engagement on the carousel, and the better that carousel is likely to then perform on social media. But there is one last part that I want to mention, and almost like a bonus tip, is that you need to think about your target audience for all of your content on social media. This can be an entirely separate video because it's a lot more around social media strategy and social media management than actually what goes into engaging content. So if that is something you want to see, feel free to comment down below. I'm happy to make that video. But the importance of a target audience, like, I cannot understate. If you don't know who you're making your content for, then your content's really not gonna speak to anybody. And while you can have some of the most incredible story structures possible, if you don't know what the audience looks like that you want that story to resonate with, it's inevitably not gonna be a good piece of content. And so if you're struggling in the beginning with who you think your target audience is, my honest advice is to get out there and just produce without expectations. The best thing you could do is make content without worrying about who it's for, but just making your art for you in the first place and then gearing it towards a specific audience once you know what it is that you actually want your content to be. Then you can look at your existing audience and have some sort of idea on the type of person that they are to then tailor your content towards them more specifically and achieve either your social media goals or communicate a message that you're really passionate about to that group of people. And then finally, you'll be able to identify your niche. This is really the most important part of all social media content creation. If you look at what one engaging piece of content looks like versus creating many pieces of content over the span of a social media presence, you'll come to realize that every social media presence can be defined by a certain bucket. And while you might be a photographer that enjoys cycling and snowmobiling, you're gonna have to pick in the beginning if you wanna be a part of either of those niches before you can then sort of branch out and speak to a larger group of people. So I hope you found today's video useful for you. There are some light tips and tricks in here that you can use to really get started in 2024. If you're looking for more in-depth tips and tricks, or you have questions around certain things that I mentioned in today's video, feel free to comment it down below. I'm happy to make a video or add in some extra shorts into the mix in the months to come. So with that, I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. And of course, I will see you all in the next one.